Talks about Sebastian Vettel's potential return to F1 have been reignited yet again, as the German four-time world champion stated recently that the passion is still there and he would return if the right circumstances arise. Normally, that was the talking point on Thursday's media day in Japan before the Grand Prix weekend, and Hamilton opened up on Vettel being his potential replacement next year as George Russell's partner. How good could this be for Mercedes, and could there be any downsides? Sebastian Vettel has been making waves in the media these past few days, not just in the motorsport realm, but in the broader world of media, particularly in British outlets like Sky News and Radio X. His appearances have been geared towards promoting the Purple energy drink brand in which he's an investor, and during these interviews, the topic of an F1 comeback was again put in front of him, and once again, Vettel teased an F1 return as he mentioned discussions he's had with Toto Wolff, though he did say that those were only conversations rather than actual F1 talks. While Vettel's promotion of the energy drink has fueled speculation about a Formula One return, it's worth noting that he doesn't appear to be a serious contender for a seat at Mercedes. The team seems inclined to honour Vettel's status as a four-time world champion and his positive relationship with both Lewis Hamilton and team principal Toto Wolff. However, there are other drivers ahead of him in consideration. It would be remarkable for Vettel to emerge as the next option, despite Hamilton endorsing him as a strong candidate due to his championship pedigree, experience, and alignment with a German manufacturer. From an age point, I feel bloody young, Vettel told Radio X as part of a UK media tour this week, promoting the purple energy drink he's invested in. With all the guys that I raced with still hanging around and signing big contracts, staying around for longer, it looks like I could have another 10 years in the sport. On the prospect of joining Mercedes, Vettel said, "For sure, it's one of the best seats on the grid. Performance-wise, Mercedes has a great track record, struggling a little bit in the last years, but then struggling, you're still second or third in the constructors. It's not like you're racing in no man's land." Nevertheless, Sebastian Vettel returning to Formula One to fill Lewis Hamilton's shoes at Mercedes is even something which Lewis Hamilton himself supported. However, the likelihood of such a scenario happening is highly unlikely. The four-time world champion retired in 2022 at the age of 35, younger than both Fernando Alonso, who succeeded him at Aston Martin at 41, and Hamilton, who was 37 at the time. While Alonso and Hamilton remain active in F1, Vettel never solidified a post-F1 career plan. Nonetheless, he's currently exploring the option of venturing into sports car racing, having recently conducted tests with the Porsche Le Mans hypercar, thus seemingly keeping the door ajar for a potential return to F1. Hamilton's unexpected move to Ferrari in 2025 has left a vacant seat at Mercedes, a team led by Toto Wolff, with whom Vettel shares a strong relationship, and there are alternative paths for Vettel to consider, such as the Audi F1 program, which will debut in 2026. One of the most significant aspects in Vettel's favour is perhaps that he isn't Fernando Alonso, and while Lewis Hamilton didn't explicitly mention Alonso when discussing potential replacements at Mercedes for the next season, when Hamilton moves to Ferrari, his description of the desired qualities in a driver, someone who aligns with Mercedes' ethos, is a team player and isn't divisive or negative, seemed to refer to Alonso's reputation as somewhat grumpy. Though Alonso wasn't named directly, many inferred from Hamilton's comments that he preferred anyone but Alonso for the role, and while this might be a bit unfair to Hamilton, it does suggest that he'd prefer Vettel over Alonso in a Mercedes seat and that's what he stated, adding that he would be an amazing option to replace him at Mercedes. "I would love for Seb to come back," Hamilton said. "I think it would be an amazing option for the team. German driver, a multi-world championship winning driver, someone who's got amazing values, will continue to take this team forward. I'd love if he came back." Discussing the merits of Vettel's decision to take a couple of seasons out, Hamilton reckoned he would only ever walk away from F1 when he knew it was for good. "I've never thought about taking a year or two off and then coming back," per Vettel. "When I'm gone, I'm hopefully gone for good. You are always going to miss it. It's the greatest sport in the world, and it's the greatest experience in the world. It's the most amazing feeling to be working with a group of people towards winning something, achieving something. There's probably nothing that's ever going to feel the same. I've not asked any of the drivers what they're missing. I can just imagine." To be honest, at the moment I don't think Vettel isn't in contention for a Mercedes seat. Toto Wolff's comments seem polite but suggest that Vettel isn't seriously considered for the position and there are likely better options available to Mercedes. And at 37 years old, Vettel could be perceived as a driver of the past. Moreover, there's little evidence to suggest that Vettel is eager to return to Formula One, with his comments possibly being more about drawing attention to his energy drink venture rather than a genuine desire for a comeback. Therefore, while nothing can be ruled out definitely, it is highly improbable that Vettel will join Mercedes, as both parties don't seem particularly interested in the idea. However, as we've stated many times before, F1 is an ever-changing sport, so it's never wise to rule out any possibilities entirely. However, the main issue for Vettel is not just the time he spent away from Formula One. Comparing him to Michael Schumacher, Kimi Raikkonen and Fernando Alonso, who all took breaks and returned, it's evident that Vettel's departure was from a lower performance level than where those legends left off, and even considering Vettel's past glory, his recent performance doesn't position him as a viable option for Mercedes. As for other potential options, the Audi Works team with Sauber could be a good fit for Vettel. He's German and carries a prestigious racing legacy, making him an attractive prospect for such a project. However, there's no indication that Audi is considering him, nor is there any evidence to suggest that Vettel is actively pursuing such an opportunity. If Vettel was never a serious possibility, where can Mercedes go from here? The options they considered when Hamilton announced his move to Ferrari earlier this year remain largely the same. The top contender appears to be Kimi Antonelli, who will be 18 next year and is currently racing in F2. Antonelli isn't just a Mercedes young driver, he's highly rated and has seen significant success in single-seater racing. However, his performance in F2 and the upcoming F1 test program will heavily influence whether he secures the seat, and if Antonelli isn't ready for F1 or if Mercedes decides to loan him out, other options like Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso could come into play. On the other hand, making Vettel a stopgap were Antonelli not considered to be ready for a Mercedes drive next year could make the most sense, as most returning drivers only come back for a short final stint to their career, but this would also reduce the time available for Vettel to get up to speed and achieve any success with Mercedes, which would probably not be worth Mercedes' time, given it could just be spent building up Antonelli or plugging in a ready-to-go active driver, or Vettel's time given his aversion to the commitment required of a full F1 schedule. Mercedes will always speak very highly of Vettel when he is in any conversation, including one about a seat. We heard it before in 2020 when Wolff was very respectful of Vettel when he was axed by Ferrari, but he was not seriously in the conversation then and is unlikely to be now. An F1 return of any kind, let alone with Mercedes, looks like a long shot at best. What do you think? Will Vettel return to F1 and in Mercedes or some other team? Let us know down in the comments, and we'll see you very soon in the next video.